What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Agnetha. And I'm making an executive decision. Never a good idea, right? But what I've decided to do is to listen to the 2 remaining bonus tracks that are not alternative or extended versions of a song that's actually on the album Eyes of a Woman 1985. Thank you again to Scott. Which is to say, I'm going to jump over for now the extended version of I Won't Let You Go. We're going to listen to, this time, The Way You Are, and then after that, Fly Like the Eagle. And then before moving on to, is it I Stand Alone? We're going to listen to the extended version of I Won't Let You Go. If only because these other 2 tracks are not tunes I've heard at all before, whereas I have heard the regular version of I Won't Let You Go. So, yes, that's the plan. We're going to go through the remaining 2 bonus tracks that are distinct from the album, and then we'll listen to the extended version of I Won't Let You Go, and then we'll move on to the next album. So, yes, that's the decision I've made. Bear with me. And yeah, The Way You Are, it sounds like maybe part of the larger expression, I like you or I love you just the way you are. Now, it could be a more nuanced depiction, meaning, you know, for better or for worse, for all the good and the bad, this is just the way you are, and I accept that, where it's still positive, it's still supportive, it's still loving, but there is an acknowledgement that it's not perfect. And you know, fair to say, what human is perfect? But yeah, I feel like it could be more complicated or mixed in terms of the assessment, but it essentially drives at someone's identity, their personality, their very nature. And I suppose there is a bit of essentialism built into that, meaning humans, as a historian I will say this, as someone who studied anthropology I'll say this, we're plastic, we're dynamic, we change, we fit to certain situations, and we can be different in different settings with different people, and yet we still, in our art, in our philosophy, in our politics and culture, we tend to regard human nature as some timeless, impermeable and immutable thing, even though in practice it's not really like that. So maybe built into it is the idea that the way someone is just how they are, and that's it, and you either have to take it or leave it for all of its good and bad. And of course, it could be more overtly positive, like, you know, I love you for every bit of the way you are. So let's see what it is in practice. This is Agnetha Faltskog. The track is The Way You Are, and it's one of the bonus tunes included on this CD version of Eyes of a Woman. lovely little tune. I gotta give kudos to whoever the male singer was there. It didn't list... It might be in the booklet, but that's up on my music wall. Again, shout out to Scott for providing me with some physical media, which of course is the best possible way to own an album. But yes, on the back here, it does not show who that was duetting with her, but I think he had a really good voice, and it was like his second verse where he really let it fly a little bit. And of course, in Agnetha's first verse, when she came in, it was just like, there are different voices that once you know them, it's like the moment they come in, it's like a familiar place. It's like a friend you've known a long time, which I feel like this is a song about lovers, and specifically I think that was mentioned. But it's kind of like this song in that, from what I took away from it lyrically, and maybe I didn't hear all the parts, or maybe I'm mishearing a crucial detail, but it sounds like the relationship is maybe a bit complicated, or at least discontinuous. She can leave, or they've spent time apart, but it's like the feeling and the way they're regarding the other person's nature, it actually is being depicted as timeless. This idea that we might be apart from each other, and maybe we're not always together, but when we're close, we know that this has to be, and the love is there, and whatever happens, don't ever change the way you are, because it's, the way you talk, the way you move, everything about you is what I love and what I think is so great. So, yeah, if I'm hearing it right, it's like the real world nature of the relationship, and, some separation, or, some off and on, or basically it's not this like perfectly consistent and continual harmonious connection. But whatever is happening, it's like they're both saying, look, you're great. The way you are is exactly the way you need to be. And it's, this is the way it has to be with lovers. So, yeah, it feels like the emotion is true and powerful and devotional, even if the context for it may be more complicated. But I do enjoy those, like, choral, almost like breathy choral supporting vocals. They have this, like, a bit gospel choir type of sound. It feels very uplifting, especially by the end. We do get some great 80s guitar. I mean, it's not like, riffing away wickedly, but it's definitely got a bit of that 80s, dramatic, epic guitar along the way in one moment in particular, so I enjoyed that. Obviously, some nice keyboard lines. There was one, like, melodic run. I didn't know if it was kind of like struck. It almost sounded a bit xylophone-esque, but there was a bleepy struck type of melodic line near the upper part of the track that I really particularly enjoyed. So yeah, a nice blend of instruments, some nice vocals, both the two lead vocals and those supporting choral style vocals, which again, they had this like breathy type of delivery. I also enjoyed when Agnetha in the latter stages was doing some of these non-verbal melodic vocals, which I've talked about her countrywoman, Marie Fredriksson. There's a number of songs, either in Roxette or Marie's solo career, where she sings with these lines that are, just na-na-nas or do-do-do, like they're not actual words, they're just melodic expression, and sometimes they add a lot of emotion to the tune, even though they're not actually saying anything. And I feel like the non-verbal melodic vocals that Agnetha did at the end of this one, they kind of hit in that way. So yeah, a lovely little tune. I'm, of course, wondering anytime I listen to a non-album track that's either included on a deluxe edition, or in this case, like, I think a later CD release, maybe it was at the time, but again, they're specifically listed as bonus tracks, so they're not on the album proper. I always do wonder, was this just a B-side for one of the singles? Was it a track that was in the album sessions, but eventually it was left out for, one reason or another, time, or the producers thinking that it wasn't quite on the level of the others? I do always wonder that. Anyway, as I said, we have one more before we circle back, meaning we're going to listen next time to Fly Like the Eagle, and then we'll come back for the extended version of I Won't Let You Go. So once again, shout out to Scott, shout out to all the folks who've been following the Agnetha journey. Let me know what you think of this one, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.